4 out of 6 college students murdered in a home off campus. No suspects over a month later.
Breaking news tonight, 40 days into the University of Idaho murders, and the driver, who was likely the very last man to see Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez alive, is speaking to News Nation. The Uber driver who brought the kids home the night of the murders. Kaylee's family reported that their daughter had indeed ordered an Uber, and now the man who drove them is revealing exclusive details to us about that ride home and what the girls said.
Yeah, I was able to find this rideshare driver. He's one of only about 4 here in the Moscow area. So I was able to track down that phone number and give him a call personally, speak to him. I asked him point blank, hey, are you the guy who drove Kaylee and Maddie home that night? And to his credit, he was very transparent, very honest, very open, almost immediately with me. Well, he said that it was actually a rather innocent conversation from the beginning. You might remember that he picked up these 2 girls from that grub truck. It's the food truck that's located right in downtown Moscow. And really, he said that was the center of their conversation. The entire 5-minute ride home was about their mac and cheese carbonara that they were planning on splitting when they got back to the house. He said that he's picked them up in the past, not only these 2 girls, but Xana as well. And he said that in the past, they've talked about boys and drama and college life, but not this time around. It was just a very normal, innocent conversation about their food and how they were going to share it when they got home. Said that obviously, as one of only about 4 rideshare drivers in this area, he picks up these girls a lot. And not to mention, we already know that this is so close to frat row. And of course, we've reported that this is a party house. So a lot of times students would come here. And so he said that Xana, that Kaylee and Maddie were no strangers to them. He's given them rides home from the bars, home from work, home from school. So he knows them. He has driven them before. But back again to this, he said that there was nothing out of the ordinary that night, that right now or in that moment that it was just an innocent conversation. Of course, the frats were bumping on a Saturday night, but here at the house, it was quiet and he saw nothing out of the usual.
So as you reported earlier this week, Alex, the last thing that we heard on tape was the surveillance camera showing Maddie and Kaylee walking from the Corner Club bar to the grub truck. And the only thing we could hear was, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? And then Maddie responds, I told Adam everything. Was there any conversation in the back of the Uber car about Adam or the bartender? Because Adam turned out to be the bartender. Did he mention anything like that?
Yeah, actually, the rideshare driver said that he knows Adam. He knows he's a bartender, but Adam was not brought up once at all during that conversation. Again, no conversations about boys, drama, or any trouble. And as far as what the girls were feeling, he said they were not fearful. They weren't skittish in any way. But back to the food truck. Also, I asked him about that. Hey, you were right there. Did you see anything out of the ordinary there? And he said, no, it was a Saturday night at the food truck. A bunch of college kids hanging out, ordering their food before heading home. You know, I brought up another person a lot of people have speculated about, the hoodie guy he's been referenced as. He said he didn't see that guy. He has no indication that anything was wrong there at the food truck, and certainly during that entire rideshare home, no indication that anything was wrong there either.
Okay, then what about the police? Because clearly I would have imagined the police have a lot more, machinery and technological ability than sometimes we do to track people down. I assume that the police would have found him and that they would have talked. What did he say about being able to tell everything he told you to the police?
This was super interesting to me because he said that he didn't hear about the murders until the next day, and he realized, oh my gosh, these are the 2 girls that I had driven home and I've driven home in the past. And so he was stewing on that for a little bit, but he was the one who eventually turned himself over to the police by calling the tip line saying, hey, I was the one who drove these girls home. The police tells the rideshare driver that they already knew he was the driver.
So the other question is, as you are standing almost, I imagine, in the same spot where they were dropped off, did he mention anything about the drop-off that was unusual? Anybody in the parking lot? Did he drive into the parking lot? Did he hear something, see something, pass anybody?
Actually, the only thing he said was that he heard the frats doing their normal partying, but everything else seemed quiet, seemed normal. There were no headlights. There was no one following him. He says he's got a great memory, and he would know whether or not anyone was trailing him or if there was anything suspicious at all. As far as the drop-off, he said that he brought them right up the street here on King Road and dropped them off here at the foot of the driveway. He never pulls actually into the driveway because he says, based on his training, he always wants to be able to have a quick getaway in the event that something bad happens to him, like he gets robbed on the side of the road. But he dropped them off here on King Road. He watched them get out of the car. He did not watch them physically go into the home, but he said that he trusted that they were going to be safe because he's driven them so many other times, and he knew that these two girls were together. But even still, he was the one who called in himself and said, hey, I was that guy. That being said, when he did that, called the tip line, he turned over all of his GPS coordinates from that night, sharing that he went to Taco Bell after dropping the girls off and then went home. And so that's the reason why he was cleared almost immediately. He'd never been named as a suspect or persons of interest because all the data that he provided to the police proves that he was not there at this house at the time that these murders allegedly happened.